What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another Apple Home Talk Live. So excited to be here and hang out with you guys. Hope you're having a great week so far. How's the weather? Where are you at? Where are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments. If you're new here, maybe this is your first time during the stream, welcome. We talk all about Apple Home, Smart Home, and we kind of go all over the place with Smart Home stuff. But yeah, specifically in the Apple Home ecosystem is what we really focus on here. So glad to see everybody. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat real quick as we kind of get this party started. How's everybody doing this week? Peter, what's up, Peter from Denmark? We got Matt from UK. Lurk Jerk says, nice shirt, Shane. Thank you, Lurk Jerk. I appreciate that. So yeah, this is part of the new merch. If you've been following me over on Instagram and stuff, you might have seen some little announcements. That's coming soon. Actually tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we're launching new merch. So I've been excited about that. Working on that behind the scenes quite a bit. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Jeff, what's up, Jeff? Sunny, and let me check my pop-ups here. That's a little bit off. Let's move that around. That's a lot off. All right, Sunny. Low humidity, perfect. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy here too. Like usually here, it's my chair kind of high. Usually here it's like hot as hell already, but it's like high as 75 I think today, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, been cooler than usual here, but I'm not complaining about that. Dan ordered the orange one like that. Awesome, thank you, man. I appreciate that, Dan. I hope you like the shirt. So excited to get those out to everybody. Juan says, hopefully I get mine tomorrow. Cool, man. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the support, and I hope you guys like the stuff that we're bringing over to you. I guess we can go ahead and talk about that. That's one of the projects I wanted to share. I've been working on. So right now, it is the website, which is linked below. It's coming soon. So we're almost there. We're going to drop all the merch starting tomorrow. If you are a channel member, you got early access with that password. So you guys already know about that. And as a channel member, you also get access to our member Discord server, early access to new videos often, and member-only videos, which I do have another member-only video coming pretty soon. And yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. We do a monthly member video chat, which is always a ton of fun. Actually, tonight we're doing that after this live stream. So I see we have a lot of channel members here in the chat. Definitely check that out if you want to come hang out. Kind of like Zoom, but in Discord. We'll be doing that. We do that on the first Wednesday of every month. And let's see. Let me see if I can. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. I was gonna see if there's a way to give away some memberships here. But I'm not seeing that. I thought I could do that from here. I was gonna try to give away some memberships, but I'm not seeing how I can do that. Creative stickers, super chat. That's not it. Well, shoot. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe we can give away some memberships in an upcoming stream. I'm pretty sure I've done that before. But anyways, welcome everybody. Glad you could hang out, whether you're a member or not. So good to see everybody, and just hang out. You know, we're gonna do some Q&A today. We'll answer questions. I have a couple of topics want to cover real quick, and then we'll get to some Q&A. And yeah, just hang out for a bit. George, what's up, George? And Terry's in the house. What's up, Terry? George says 75 and absolutely beautiful, or perfect, excuse me, in Omaha today. That's awesome. Glad to hear that, especially on your anniversary. Congratulations on many happy, I can't remember how many years it's been. Quite a few, I believe. Is it 20, I want to say? Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me how many years it's been since you guys have been married, George and Teresa, celebrating their anniversary today. So congratulations to those guys. Let's see. I'm trying something here. Yeah, sorry about that. I was just reading some comments. Hello from Denmark. This week's project, bring cameras through scripted to HomeKit. Very cool. Yeah, definitely a good project there. Something I've been working on a little bit as well lately. Nice. Everybody's got some good weather today. It's been really overcast, kind of rainy. I'm a little worried because I was checking out the forecast and some of my other projects that I have coming up that I've been kind of in the planning phase and I need to execute soon are outdoor projects. And we've got rain in our forecast for like the next week straight, which worries me a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be trying to dodge the rain and get done some of these projects outdoors. William, what's up, William? Good afternoon, Shane. Wishing you and your wife and every mother a happy Mother's Day. That's right. Mother's Day is coming this weekend. So thank you for that, William. I'll be sure to let Caroline know. And yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Got some happy anniversary wishes for George here in the chat. Let's see. Checking out the comments here. Welcome, Mark from Alabama. What's up, Mark? Oh, Hair Riot ordered and stoked. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got some more merch. I got some cups too. I'm using this one here. Let's see, is that blurred out? The Smart Home Legend cup. I love these. They've got the colored insides and handles. So we got some new stuff coming with this merch drop starting tomorrow. This is the first drop of 2025, so it's been a while. I explained some of this over on Instagram last night, so if you follow me over there, you may have heard this. I share a lot of behind the scenes stuff, by the way, on Instagram, but I switched distributors and printers and everything for the merch. I had merch a while ago, but there were some issues with like delays and shipping delays and stuff like that with the last company. So I've been looking around a lot behind the scenes. I ordered tons of different shirt samples, and this is actually one of the samples because I wanted to test all the fabrics. This one's really soft. I like this one, but this is not the final one that we went with. It's a little more premium. The t-shirts that we're printing on are like just the most premium. I'm kind of a nut about my t-shirts. I really want them just like the best quality, comfortable, and last long and all that good stuff. So we're only going to be shipping stuff that I would wear myself when it comes to t-shirts. So hopefully you guys, everybody that's ordered one already, will enjoy those. Let's see. George, did I miss? I was looking to see. I think I missed your comment if you told us. Oh, yes, it is 20 years. I was right. Okay, thank you. I thought it said 20 years earlier. Awesome. Man, 20 years. Wow, that's an inspiration right there. We are looking to follow in your footsteps, you and Teresa. Congratulations to you guys. Hope y'all enjoy your dinner later on, man. That is awesome. And thanks for hanging out during the stream too. You guys go check out George's channel if you haven't already. Great YouTube channel, lots of camera and security stuff over on there on his channel. He's kind of like the expert, I think, when it comes to cameras especially, and quality, all that good stuff. So definitely go check out George's channel. What's up, Edgar? Edgar's Home Tech in the house, another great YouTuber. So good to see everybody. Do you ship to Europe? Good question. Yes, we will be shipping to Europe as well. Through that site. So there's a link down below. Again, if you want to check it out, it's coming soon, but tomorrow everything will be available on that site. So definitely check back for that. Oh, thank you, Adriano. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really excited to get that stuff out. And I always think it'd be so cool to see some of this stuff out in the wild one day. So maybe I'll run into one of you guys rocking one of the shirts one day. That'd be awesome. But yeah, let's just discuss a couple of the projects. We talked about the merch already. I've got another big project starting, which I share a lot of this behind the scenes on Instagram. So you may have seen this if you follow me over there, but I've been just working on my garage, like really just cleaning it out, which has been a massive undertaking, just cleaning it out so I can even start this project. I spent all weekend, most of yesterday, and then a little bit this morning, just getting everything out there. Oh my gosh, we have so much stuff, and we have like basically a 2-story garage, so upper level. We just had so much stuff, but I'm redoing this whole garage. I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna share kind of the process over on Instagram if you guys want to follow along. I will eventually have a full video coming out on YouTube. I do plan to do that. But I've got a friend who owns a contract company. He's going to be building a loft for me in there. We're going to do paint, do the floors, cabinets, everything, just to help with storage. But also I'm going to use this as hopefully a new place where I can shoot videos. I'm not abandoning the studio here or anything like that, but it will be nice to have another space around the house where I can, do unboxings and maybe like larger items and other just projects. I'll probably put like my 3D printer out there, maybe get another 3D printer, stuff like that. So I'm really excited about that project, and it was supposed to start today as far as framing out the loft. It's kind of a good thing that got postponed. We're going to be starting tomorrow, actually. I was a little worried because we probably would have been hearing a lot of hammering and stuff like that going on during the stream. So it kind of worked out for the better. Got postponed. We're going to be starting that tomorrow, though, looks like. And yeah, just pumped about that. It's going to be cool. Dan says, send me a 3D printer too. Well, I've only got one right now. So I've only got a little tiny one. I'm thinking... and it's kind of back here in the corner of my studio, the little Bamboo Labs A1 Mini. I think I said that right. That's what I've been using. It's cool. I can imagine with more space, like in the garage, getting a bigger 3D printer so I can print like bigger things. That might come in handy. So maybe that's coming down the road one day. But yeah, Dan is big into 3D printing, and we have a cool little section over on our Discord server just for 3D printing where we've been sharing stuff like that, and it's cool to see all that, other people who are kind of into that. It is the last thing I ever thought I'd get into, to be honest. I was kind of, I don't know, not intimidated, but I just thought it was going to be a steep learning curve, and I just was afraid I didn't have the time to learn something new like 3D printing, but it really was not bad at all, especially with the Bamboo Labs stuff. I don't know if they're all that easy, but the Bamboo Labs stuff is super easy. Are the light strings that are powered by... Oh, you guys are talking about... I missed that. I want to buy my first 3D printer soon. Really curious about the possibilities it could bring. Yeah. I did make a video, I don't know, I guess it was like a month ago, maybe a little longer, on excuse me, on 3D printing stuff specifically for your smart home, which that was fun. That was a fun video, and just showed some of the ways I'm utilizing it around my house, especially if you have a smart home and like to tinker and stuff like that. That's where it's been most helpful for me. But yeah, I assume, especially with this garage project coming, I'll probably be 3D printing a lot of stuff, like organizers and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there. I think I'm gonna get like pegboards too in the garage. So I don't know if I'll go with like the IKEA pegboards or something like that, but I've seen like tons of pegboard attachments and things like that also, as well as like drawer organizers. So yeah, I'm gonna be probably 3D printing a lot of stuff once we get this garage up and running. Edgar needs a 3D printer. Yeah, like I said, man, I actually had Bamboo Labs sent me one, the A1 Mini with like 0 strings attached. I didn't have to make a video. I wasn't planning on making a video about it or anything at all. In fact, it was months after I got it, and before I made that video, I set it up and I was like, man, this is kind of cool. I started getting into it, and yeah, so that's how that happened. Thank you, Frederick. Frederick says, please preface your questions with the word question so that they will be highlighted. Yeah, they don't highlight, but that does help it stick out a little bit more for me. So when I see the word question, I will flag that and I will come back to those, and we'll answer as many questions as we can here today in the stream. So yeah, stick around for that. Other projects, well, this isn't a project, but I did want to share this. I had like a number of people send me this on Instagram and in other areas on Discord. A few of our members posted this over on Discord, but wanted to share this with you guys. Matter 1.4.1 has been released. So this is one of those like minor updates. This is not a major update, but let's talk about this a little bit and some of the updates that come with this little update. It is nice to see that they're adding minor updates and just continuously improving, the framework and everything of Matter. So we're getting enhanced setup flow. So let me read this right quick. The enhanced setup flow is an update to the core commissioning process. So that's how you add new devices to Matter. It supports the display of a manufacturer's terms and conditions directly in the Commissioner app, including enabling the collection of customer consent, terms and conditions, all that kind of stuff. So before, if you had to approve terms and conditions and all that stuff, you'd have to go to the manufacturer's app to do that. Whereas, instead of like HomeKit or, Amazon's ecosystem, I'm trying not to trigger your smart assistants here, but with this update, they'll be able to basically wrap this all up into those ecosystems through Matter if they choose to support it. So that would be nice, accepting terms and conditions without having to go to a manufacturer's app. Another update is multi-device setup QR codes, which is kind of cool. So this comes in handy if, let's say you buy like a pack of light bulbs, right? And this has actually happened to me, right? So I had a pack of light bulbs, Matter light bulbs. It could be like a pack of 6 of them. Well, inside you'll get, 6 QR codes, right? 6 Matter codes. And usually it's hard to tell which code goes with which light bulb, right? And you have to set them all up individually, go through the process, set up one, do it with the other one, and just go down the list like that. With multi-device setup QR codes, it will be, in those similar cases, it'll be just a single QR code that you can scan to set up multiple devices. So that should make things easier. Also, they're adding the ability to onboard devices through NFC, which is something that, they probably got from, that's a note out of HomeKit there. That's something a lot of HomeKit devices have supported in the past. Whereas, instead of finding the code or whatever, you can just tap your phone to the device and it'll automatically pair. So you won't have to scan the code and everything like that. Just tap the code or tap the device. That's especially handy when you have devices like, for me, it's been smart plugs or light bulbs or stuff like that might be difficult to like reach places, or maybe like the QR code is up under the device. With this, if you have to, reset the device or re-add it or whatever, you can just tap it and NFC will allow you to add the device there. And then there's just also some minor improvements. And it looks like with this update, they're really trying to improve the setup of new devices and stuff like that, onboarding new devices, which is definitely good to see. Of course, just because the Matter update is here does not mean that the ecosystems will all support that right away, but it is there. Hopefully they take advantage of this. I'm hoping to see all the ecosystems kind of get up to date and on the same page with like Matter 1.4, hopefully soon, but time will tell on that. Let's see what you guys say. Right, exactly. PalmaKit, what's going on? Glad to see you here. It says, according to the current schedule, Matter 1.4.1 will be available in Apple Home in 2023. So, sorry, 2030. Got my numbers mixed up there. Yeah, right. So the point there is that, like I just said, we got to wait for these ecosystems and platforms to update their Matter implementation. But, it sounded like in that interview with the folks from the Thread group and Matter that The Verge did a little while ago, it sounded like they're trying really hard to get everybody up to 1.4 this year and kind of on the same page. So that's what I'm hoping for. Brendan says, matter don't matter. What do you guys think? I don't know. I've been enjoying having Matter devices. There are, for me personally, Matter does kind of matter. It's been nice, I'll say, when you're using multiple ecosystems for sure. It makes things a lot easier to add devices to multiple ecosystems. Like I talked about this a little bit in my last video where we kind of went beyond HomeKit into some a little bit more advanced stuff. And, you know, if you're using like Home Assistant and Homey or, you know, either other ecosystems like Google or Amazon or whatever, it is nice when they support Matter. It just makes it easier to just add the devices to multiple platforms. Somebody was talking in our Discord server just this week actually about adding devices to Home Assistant. This is a great example, right? So like traditional HomeKit device, if you want to add it to Home Assistant, you have to remove it from HomeKit or the Apple Home app and then add it to HomeKit and then reintegrate it back into HomeKit through Home Assistant, which is pretty tedious. Like if maybe you're switching to Home Assistant or maybe you want to use both, kind of like we talked about in that video. So, you know, with Matter, you know, if it's in HomeKit through Matter, you can just, put it in pairing mode through the Apple Home app and then add the same device to Home Assistant right there in Home Assistant without having to remove it from HomeKit. You don't mess up your automations or anything like that in HomeKit. So there are some benefits there. In some cases, I think. Edgar says, I'm committing to Matter. Yeah, I don't think it's like the end all be all. I, still use a lot of devices that don't support Matter, but it's getting better and better, I think. John says, Matter is getting better and easier to use. Yeah, I think so. And as we see these like little minor improvements that they keep rolling out, that's all good stuff there. So I like seeing that. Florette, what's going on? Good to see you here. Sorry, my allergies are kind of getting me because, like I said, I've been in the garage for like 3 or 4 days straight, just dust and blowing all over the place. So if I sound a little off, it's just the allergies getting the best of me. Yeah, Hair Riot. Liking Matter, especially with multi-ecosystem setup. Yeah, it's nice. And I do look forward to seeing that hopefully get better too. It can be a little confusing right now, the way it kind of generates a Matter device. You have to generate a new QR code or new Matter code once you pair it in one ecosystem. I think that's confusing for some people. I'd like to see that get a little bit better too. But yeah, once you understand kind of how that works, yeah, it's definitely great for multi-ecosystem setups. Trent says, switched all my Aqara stuff to Matter. Yeah, I've been using my Aqara stuff in Matter or through Matter for a little while now. I held off on that one for a while for all my main devices, but yeah, I have since switched all my Aqara stuff to Matter also. And yeah, I haven't had any major issues with that either. Like I said, I did give it a little while. Edgar says, I want Matter for the same reason you presented, Shane. I like to have options, even if Apple Home will always be my primary platform. Yep. There you go. All right, let's see. Let me flag some of these questions here. Oh, we got a few questions already. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start getting to questions here. You know what? First, though, before we do that, I did want to talk a little bit about dummy switches because Robert asked this over in Discord and also I think maybe on Instagram or something about dummy switches. So let's talk about dummy switches real quick and would love to hear how you guys use dummy switches. If you do, please share in the comments. But when I think of dummy switches, I think of really two primary use cases, especially for Apple HomeKit users. And one is just for conditional automations. So, run a certain automation, but only if something is true or not true, and that something could be your dummy switch, right? So, I've used this example before, but like a guest mode switch, right? So maybe you want your lights outside to turn off every night at 9:30 p.m., but obviously you don't want that to happen if you're hanging outside with guests, on the back patio or something. So you just use a guest mode, and then when you have guests over, you just turn on guest mode, and then you can bypass those automations, right? So your automation would just say run every night at 9:30. If guest mode is off, then execute the automation. That way, if you turn on the guest mode, it'll just kind of skip that automation and it won't run. So conditions is a great use case for dummy switches. One, and then another one that's fairly common, I think, for HomeKit users is for automating those secure accessories. So some of y'all probably know what I'm talking about with this, but like if you try to automate a secure accessory, which would be smart locks, garage doors, alarm systems, things like that, things that basically gain entry into your home. HomeKit, the Apple Home app, requires you to authenticate through like a little notification or a prompt before that automation will run. And that's just a security thing. They don't want those automations running to like unlock doors and stuff. It's one of those things where Apple thinks they know what's best for us, so they put that in place. But you can get around that using dummy switches. And what you would do, let's say you want your door to unlock automatically when you get home, for example, you would get a notification if you just build it like normal in the Home app. But if you use a dummy switch, you can, it doesn't require that kind of notification for a dummy switch, or if you use those secure accessories controlled by another accessory, right? Bear with me here. It's kind of confusing, but what you would do instead, you would say, when I come home, turn on the dummy switch. And then a separate automation says, when the dummy switch turns on, unlock the door. And that's a way to get around that secure accessory automation limitation, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's another good way, if you're doing automations and stuff in HomeKit and you want to get around that. I've been asked, about that issue many times. A lot of people want to create, an automation to open your garage, when you get home or whatever it might be. And that's kind of the best way, I think, to get around those in HomeKit is to use dummy switches. Now, dummy switches are virtual switches, so it's basically just a switch that doesn't control anything necessarily. And you can set those up using other platforms that support it, like Home Assistant. Homey does it. You can do it in Homebridge as well. So you have to have one of those other ecosystems, one of those other platforms running alongside Apple Home to be able to do that with the virtual switches. Now, what you can do also, if you don't have any of that, is just use a regular old smart plug. Just find an outlet you're not using somewhere in the house, plug it in, forget about it there, and then just basically use that smart plug in the Home app as your virtual dummy switch. So that's how you can do it if you don't have any of those other ecosystems running. So yeah, let me see if how do you set up a dummy switch? So I mean, it's, as far as the Apple Home app knows, it's just a switch, just like a plug or an outlet. So you don't really have to set anything up once it's in there. Like I said, if you're using Home Assistant, so in Home Assistant, it's a helper item, I think is what it's called. So you can create those virtual switches in Home Assistant through helpers. In Homey Pro, it's just a virtual switch if you're using Homey. Homebridge, there's a few plugins that you can use. Dummy switches is, I think, the name of one plugin that works. And again, you can just use a physical smart plug if you want. Frederick says, I use VocalLink smart switches as they are rock solid and very inexpensive. Nice. Yeah, I used to have a lot of VocalLink switches or smart plugs. I don't anymore, but I used to use those and they were reliable. And yeah, that's a good thing too about smart plugs. If you're not running Home Assistant or anything like that, there's so many smart plugs nowadays that you can really find some pretty cheap. The tricky part's going to be finding one that, is just reliable and stays connected. But you got Thread smart plugs, you got Wi-Fi smart plugs. There's quite a range and at all different price points too. The Eve Energy Smart Plug is probably my favorite, but they are a little bit more expensive. But they've been super reliable, and those are a matter over thread, those smart plugs. Matt says, I use a smart plug connected to a camera to activate the alarm and camera when I leave. Okay, very nice. Yep, that's one method there. Yep, there you go. Brian, what's up, Brian? Brian says, yeah, you can also just plug in a smart outlet with nothing into it and have that act as a dummy switch too. Very true. Yeah, so smart outlet, smart plug, anything like that that you could just toggle on and off in the home app would definitely work. Green Arrow, what's going on? Green Arrow says, I also use dummy switches so I can run a shortcut when the dummy switch is turned on or off. That way scenes can trigger the switch, which triggers a shortcut. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out a little bit. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Nice, very cool. Creative use there of a dummy switch. Hair Riot says Eve is reliable, very reliable with stinking reliable with thread. A little pricey, but worth it. Yeah, I agree. It kind of depends on your use case, how. If you want something rock solid, spending a little extra money is never a bad idea. Aqara smart plugs are great too. Yeah, that's another one. I think that's good. The problem with the Aqara smart plugs, in my opinion, is that they're kind of big. So, depending on, you can't use two in the same outlet. You can use two and then something else on the bottom. They're a little bit bigger, which is kind of annoying, but the Aqara smart plugs are good too, because if you're running a bunch of Aqara Zigbee devices, the Aqara smart plugs also act as a Zigbee repeater in your home for your Aqara Zigbee, network, which that's just kind of like an added bonus there. So yeah, that's a good suggestion there. If you have an Aqara hub, I should clarify. All right. Yeah, I see a bunch of questions. I use dummy switches to stop my lounge, 30 automations when we have company over. Okay, nice. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I want to set up some more like that. We talked to Reed from Smart Home Solver over on the live stream a couple weeks ago, and that was one thing he was talking about, how he's really dialed in his smart home just for his family and everything to keep everybody from going crazy with automations. And yeah, that kind of inspired me, because I do a little bit of that, but I do want to just create more automations. And I think conditions, and that's what he was saying, conditions is the way to really dial in those automations so that they don't run when you don't want them to and piss off everybody in the house. So, again, using those dummy switches or virtual switches for the conditions, I think is a great way to do that. So let's go ahead and get to some questions. Quite a few here. Everybody's asking the best device, best devices. Tom says Third Reality Smart Plug is the best I've ever used. And those are Zigbee, correct? I think they just make the Zigbee ones. I have one, actually. They sent me a bunch of devices, but I have not started using it though. So that's good to know. I'll check that out. All right, I'm gonna answer some questions here. We've got like over 14, I think, that I've starred. How do you get rid of tiles that are no response in the home app? Well, you either get it connected properly or you just remove it from the home app, remove the device from the home app. Yeah, so that's a connection issue, whether could be a number of things causing no response. Not much you can do other than, you remove the device from your Apple Home app or figure out, troubleshoot and figure out why it's not working and eliminate that no response. My Ecobee premium thermostat worked some in the first few weeks and since then refuses to connect to HomeKit Any suggestions? Have you heard of this happening? Every other feature works. It's hard to say, to really troubleshoot some of this stuff in a live stream. You just got to figure out what the issue is. I did do a video a long time ago on, troubleshooting no response issues and what I do. So this is like the second question we've had about no response issues. So I'll kind of go through some of the steps, and you guys feel free to chime in. I know there's a lot of people who have done the same thing and troubleshot devices. How do you say that? I don't know. But what I do first is try to determine where the issue is. So it could be a connection issue with whatever protocol the device is using. You got Wi-Fi, Thread, even Bluetooth, Zigbee, so you got to figure out how the device is connected first of all, and figure out where the issue is. Sometimes it can be on the HomeKit side, which is related to your Apple Home Hub. A lot of times, restarting your HomeKit hubs will just fix a lot of problems. Another thing to do, if you haven't done, it's kind of hard with a thermostat that's hardwired, but unplug it and plug it back in. If it's a plug-in device or if it's a battery device, take the battery out, pop the battery back in. Maybe we'll reestablish that connection. You can definitely do that. But yeah, trying to figure out, you look at other things like, are my other HomeKit accessories showing no response? If you're having that issue across a bunch of accessories, then it's probably something to do with your HomeKit hub. Again, restarting your HomeKit hub can help that. Is it a Matter device that's causing issues? In this case, the Ecobee thermostat is not, but there's things on the network side you need to look at. Like this device does connect over Wi-Fi. So are your Wi-Fi settings correct? For example, IPv6 is required for Matter devices and Thread devices. So you definitely want to make sure you have IPv6 enabled for Matter and Thread. So there's just a lot of stuff like that that you can do. Remove it from the home app and then try to re-add it. Factory reset the device. Stuff like that is kind of my normal steps to go through. Let's see what you guys say. Trent says, flip the breaker. Yeah, that's one way to, it's a good suggestion there. So like a thermostat or a hardwired light fixture or something like that, where you can't just unplug it. That's a good way to maybe reset it or reset that connection. Yep, Turin says unplug the thermostat, let it restart, or delete it from HomeKit and re-add it. Yep. Umar Jamal says, I'm finishing up a new apartment, sorry, I added smart in there, and want to install smart home switches in Apple Home. I purchased Aqara switches and an M3 hub. Should I go with Zigbee or Thread? Thanks in advance. So, yeah, that's a good question, I think. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer, but I'll share what I would do and what I do in my house. So I think, personally, if you have an Aqara hub, an Aqara Zigbee hub, which is, there's a bunch of them. The M3 hub is a great one. That's the one I use also. If you have an Aqara hub in your house, I would prefer using Zigbee over Thread for those Aqara devices. So for those that don't know, a lot of the Aqara devices, like the smart switches that Umar is talking about, that new thermostat or that new temperature sensor, and the light bulbs and stuff. Some of their newer devices that are released this year can support either Thread or Zigbee, and you get to choose. In my experience, just the Zigbee stuff with Aqara is so rock solid that it's hard for me to want to use Thread for those devices as long as you have an Aqara hub. Plus, you usually get more features when you're using it over Zigbee. So there's certain features and stuff that you'll miss out on when you connect it over Thread. So if it was me, I would use Zigbee as long as you have an Aqara hub. I actually have, I think I only have one of their light switches installed. and I have one of their light bulbs. I'm about to install another one of their light switches, and I'm going to be using Zigbee for all those instead of Thread. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Let me know, what do you guys think? Y'all agree? Thread is great in theory. Zigbee is way more reliable. Yeah, Thread, I mean, Thread is great. Matter over Thread is great as a standard, I think, but Zigbee's just been around for so long, and companies like Aqara, man, they just have it nailed down. Their Zigbee products have just been rock solid for me personally. So, like I said, yeah, I agree with that. Is there a bot that can monitor chat and compile all chats that have the word question in it? Shimpasta said. Yeah, I don't know. There might be. There used to be. So YouTube used to actually, I don't know what changed or if it's something I'm doing, used to highlight in the chat when there was a question. But yeah, maybe there are some bots or something that I can use. I've been looking at a few different plugins that maybe I'll be able to utilize in the stream. So that's something to look into. I appreciate that suggestion. Are there any temperature sensors working with Apple Home without any hub? I recently bought a HomePod Mini. Yeah, so some of you guys may have answered this, but the temperature sensors, so Eve has one off the top of my head that comes to mind first. The Eve Weather. So that's this one right here. These are great. I use these out. You can use these outside too, which is awesome. You don't want to put them in direct sunlight, but like under a porch or in shade or something, they're great. I have one on my front porch and my back porch, and I actually need to get a new one for my garage maybe. But these don't require a hub. These connect Matter over Thread. So, nice. A little bit pricey for a temperature sensor, but has a nice little display, and you actually get a lot of information through the Eve app. If you want that. But yeah, just for adding it straight into Apple Home, this is a good one I'd probably go with. Let's see. Turin or Hair Riot says, is 2.0 still around? Yeah, so they rebranded to Ari. That's a good point. Thank you for reminding me. Ari has their temperature sensor. Now you can't put these outside, but these are also Matter over Thread. So that's probably going to be the route you're going to have to go. If you want something that doesn't require a hub, I would look for Matter over Thread to work directly in the Apple Home app. So the Ari sensor may be another good option there. And let's see, what about that new Aqara temperature sensor? Does this, because this can connect over Thread too, right? This is, oh man, making me do all that. So this one, let's see. We talked about it last week. Where's our new one? Here we go, the climate sensor W100, that's it. I think you can use this one directly with over Matter through Thread, right? I don't think you have to use the Aqara hub if you're using it with Thread. Does anybody know, am I correct on that? Can I get fact check on that one? The W100 Ben said. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you opt to use this with Thread, then you don't have to have an Aqara hub. And see, like you can see, this goes into what we were talking about earlier with Aqara's Zigbee versus Thread. You can see right here, Zigbee hub is required for some of the certain features, right? So you get extra features when you're using these devices over Zigbee versus Thread. But if you want to just use it right in the Apple Home app over Thread without any hub, you can do that just for basic functionality. Oh, that's true too. Turin says the HomePod Mini has a temperature and humidity sensor built in. That's true. I don't know how reliable those are. Has anybody like really tested how reliable or accurate, I should say, those temperature and humidity sensors are? They always seem to be a little different, just slightly off from what my other temperature sensors are reading. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, that's true. They do have one built in, and they show up in the Apple Home app. So if you're trying to read the temperature in the same room as your HomePod, maybe that'll work. Oh, thank you, Ben. So yeah, Ben confirmed there. So you can use that Aqara W100 through Matter only with Thread directly in the Apple Home app. So yeah, and there you go. With Zigbee, you do get more functionality like AC controls. Terry says they're often as much as 5 degrees. I'm not sure if yeah, there's probably been times mine have been off that much. Talking about the HomePod temperature sensors. Oh, but TacWorks has been accurate, so I guess it maybe depends. Frank says Netatmo also has a temperature and CO2 sensors for indoor and outside. Now, do those support HomeKit natively, Frank? I'm not familiar with those. Oh, the weather is it the weather station? I remember that. I didn't think that supported. Maybe that does support HomeKit natively. Yeah, Terry says the HomePod is the device that gets warm. Yeah, that's probably what it is. All right, let me try to get some more questions. We've got quite a few. Let's see. Mail says, how's your wife enjoying her new Nanoleaf mask? Man, I tell you what, she has not used it yet. So this was like, my wife said, this is finally Nanoleaf made a device for me. This is the Nanoleaf LED light therapy mask, and she's been wanting one of these for a while. We finally got one in the mail, and was super excited to give that to her. Well, she got sick. Like, she got really sick, like right after I gave that to her. And so she hasn't had a chance to even use it. She was literally just like sick as a dog, like all last week. It was kind of rough. So she didn't have time she hadn't messed with it yet. But yeah, hopefully this week I'm gonna give it to her and let her. I'm gonna tell her try it on because we want to know. I want to know too. Like, I'm curious about that. So she's our guinea pig on that one. John says, what's a good temperature device to put for a freezer? I would probably use the Aqara sensors, just the basic Aqara temperature sensors. If you have as long as you have an Aqara hub, just because they're really affordable. It's probably like the most affordable one, and that way, if the freezer or something, eventually gets to it or kills it or whatever, it's not that expensive. I've used one in my refrigerator for a long time, and it still works. I haven't tried the freezer, but yeah, I'd probably just go with like the most affordable one you can go with. That way, if it fails in time, or maybe the Eve one. Check the ratings. The Eve outdoor one might be able to withstand temperatures that cold also, so that might be a good one because you can use that one outdoors. I have the Aqara G3 camera hub through HomeKit. I want to connect it through Matter to try the Aqara signals. If I do it, all my Aqara bridge devices will be duplicated in a HomeKit. They will. Yes, that is correct. So that's kind of the annoying part when you switch over your Aqara stuff to Matter. Again, I did go through that process a while back. But yeah, it will, you can integrate your Aqara hub into HomeKit 2 ways, through the traditional HomeKit integration and through Matter. I think eventually it might be good to go through Matter. I assume there will be a time somewhere in the future, I don't know when, where they'll probably just primarily support that integration. But I mean, you're good for a while if you don't want to do that. You can actually do, I think, most of those signal features that you're talking about, you can do also through the HomeKit integration. So I'm trying to think. I know you can, maybe you can't, yeah, maybe not the automation triggers. I know you can like export scenes and everything from the Aqara app over to HomeKit, but through the HomeKit integration, but maybe not those automation triggers, which is probably what you're looking to do. So yeah, it's just one of those things. When you do decide to switch it over to Matter, you're going to have duplicate devices. You're going to have to remove, if you don't want the duplicate devices, you'll have to remove the original Aqara Hub integration from HomeKit. If you have automations or anything like that set up, you have to redo all your automations. So it's kind of a pain, but it's the only way as of now to do that. Let's see. David says recommendations for best ceiling fans. Lutron fan controller is nice, but not many ceiling fans work with it that aren't cheap or ugly. Any nice fans want to use their own remotes. Yeah, so the key here, if you have a switch, a light switch that controls your fan, I'm a fan of the Lutron switches regardless, right? So all you have to do, if you have a switch and you want to use the Lutron fan controller switch, is get a ceiling fan that's AC powered. You can't do it with DC powered fans, and there are more and more of those these days, but there's also still a lot of AC powered fans, and you just got to check for that. But as long as you get a fan that's AC powered, you can use it with the switch. Even if it comes with a little remote, for the fan, you don't want to use that. Just throw that in the trash. And what you do is those that have the remote, they have a little module. I think somebody mentioned this in the comments, but they have that little module in the ceiling fan canopy. So when you're installing the fan, you just disregard that. You just don't use that at all, and you just wire the fan directly, to your wiring up there. And when you do that, then you can use the light switch. Again, it does have to be an AC powered fan, but there's tons of fans out there that you could use with this. Now, there are other HomeKit fans like, let's see, is it Hunter Douglas makes some? What's the other company that makes some? You guys probably remember. There's a few. I think Big Ass Fans has some HomeKit ones now. You guys ever seen those fans? They were pretty cool. So Hunter Douglas is the shades. Hunter fans make some. What are some other ones? Yeah, like I said, you got the Big Ass Fans that support HomeKit now. I don't think Drio supports HomeKit. Yeah, Hunter looks like the main one there. Oh, supports Matter. Okay, it's Matter that they support. Nice. I remember seeing they were integrating that. So yeah, I forgot that was Matter. Nice. So yeah, it's easier, I think, to find a good AC powered fan that you like, that's just dumb or whatever, than it is to find a HomeKit supported fan. There's not too many of them. So that's why I like going with the smart fan controller from Lutron. But there are some nice ones. Yeah, Hunter fans, I know people like those, so maybe Hunter would be the good way to go. Mike says, any idea which smart plug can carry the load of an electric space heater? My Onrus plug eventually overheats and fails. I think it's pretty standard as like 15 amp on pretty much all those. Trying to look at some of the specs here on one or two of them. 10 amp. Yeah, see, this is the Eve Energy, the one I was kind of recommending earlier. So 15 amp max. Most of them I think are going to be that. Most of your traditional ones. I wonder if what did you say you were trying to connect your load of an electric space heater? Ooh, yeah, that's kind of scary. I would be very hesitant using a space heater with a smart plug. You definitely don't want to start a fire. I'm going to look up one real quick and see if we can find the specs on this. The one I'm thinking of is the Lutron outdoor smart plug, because that thing is built like a tank. I don't recall. Let's see if we can find the specs. 120 volt. Yeah, I don't think that's... Yeah, I'm not sure of any other ones. Let's see, did anybody else answer in the chat? Yeah, I don't see any. Maybe the Eve outdoor outlet. Yeah, that's EU only. Yeah, you might want to look at the outdoor ones. Oh, thanks. Frank says Eve outdoor can do 16 amp. Yeah, I don't know. I know there was a 20 amp smart outlet at one point, but I don't think that company makes them anymore. That was the, what were they called? Connect Sense had a 20 amp outlet. Not a plug, but an outlet. But I don't think they're around anymore. Let's try to answer a few more questions. William says, I finally started recording my first smart home video. All right, nice. It's been a long 2 weeks, but having fun. Do any of you have any recommendations for programs that can be used for content creation? Oh man, I use so many these days. Yeah, just play around. You can use like ChatGPT is kind of helpful, or different AI for like ideation and kind of coming up with ideas and strategies and stuff. I kind of use that sometimes now. As far as like actually creating the content, I mean, I use Premiere Pro still, which is kind of old school. What else is there? Gosh. There's different AI apps. I don't know, I guess AI tools, I guess you could say. Like there's tools that you can use for cutting down longer videos, like these live streams and stuff, cut them into shorter videos if that's something you want to do. Opus Clips is a good one for that I've been using. Yeah, it just depends, I guess, too, what you're creating. I know there's a lot of mobile first tools that people use to edit and stuff on mobile. I just don't do any of that personally. Not very often. I've played around with the new Instagram Edits app a little bit. It's kind of like CapCut. People use CapCut a lot. I guess it kind of just depends on what kind of content you're creating. Zoe says, is there a HomeKit door lock for UK that has 5-point locking system? Ooh, I'm not sure about that one. So that would be... I'm looking up these types of locks. So something like this, maybe. This isn't a HomeKit lock, but it makes me think of the... I can't remember the name of the Aqara one. Let's see what's in the Aqara UK shop. Does this work? It's hard for me to access some of those. Yeah, maybe this one. I don't know if this is a 5-point locking system. This isn't available here. Aqara might have one. There's also another really heavy duty one that Aqara makes, which I'm probably going to have trouble finding. Oh, this one right here. So yeah, the D100. I don't know if that's a 5-point locking system or if that would work or not. That's a really cool looking lock though. But yeah, sorry, I'm not too familiar with a lot of those because I don't get to test any of those around here. Lurgic says the Aqara U200 works great with European point locks. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Maybe you can use like a retrofit lock, like the Aqara U200, the SwitchBot lock, something that you could put over top, basically, of the turning mechanism and retrofit it. That might be the best way to go if you can't find, a lock replacement itself. Good suggestion. Let's see. Raul says CapCut there for video editing there. Oh yeah, Canva. That's a good creation tool. Yeah, I guess for thumbnails, all that kind of stuff, I use Photoshop. Again, I'm kind of old school, man, but a lot of people like Canva also for creating stuff like that. I think Canva even does like video stuff now too. AI tool. There's like AI built into everything. There's so many tools out there. It's hard to go wrong. Just pick different ones that you hear good things about and try them out. I've been doing that actually a lot lately, kind of testing out new ones and stuff like that. William says, will you be installing the new UV palm recognition smart lock? So I did install one. I installed the Eufy one, the new Eufy family lock. I think it was called palm recognition lock. It's really cool. I love the screen that was on the inside of that, but unfortunately, I just had a lot of issues getting it to work with HomeKit and everything through Matter. So I ended up removing that lock and am not using it right now. And that's why I didn't release a video or anything, because I just couldn't get it to work with HomeKit. And it could have been because it was like an early, I got it really early. Sometimes that happens with those devices, but yeah, that's the only palm vein lock that I've tried so far. John Bradley, what's going on, John? Glad you can make it right towards the end. Oh man, we've rolled over. So yeah, today again, first Wednesday of the month. So we have our member Discord hangout, our monthly member chat over in Discord here shortly. So if you're a channel member, hop over to Discord here in about 20 minutes and we'll continue the chat over there. Again, we've got the new merch dropping tomorrow. There's a link down in the description to get to the website. And we got these shirts and a couple other new designs. I brought back one or two of the older designs, and we've got a couple of mugs. Just starting off, this is the first drop of 2025, and we're going to be doing some more here later this year, but excited to get these out with the new distributor and everything like that. I hope you guys like them. Can't wait to see those out there in the world. Tag me if you get one over on Instagram or something like that. Would love to see that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out and chatting with me today. If I didn't get to your question and you are a channel member, definitely just drop that over in Discord, tag me or just drop it in any channel over there on our Discord server. And otherwise, I'll see you guys, all you channel members, in the chat, and everyone else. I'll be over on Instagram a lot because we got a lot of projects going on. So I'll be shooting a lot of behind the scenes stuff over on my Instagram stories and things like that in the coming weeks. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'll talk to you next time. God bless.